All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. But we're going to have a show.
And good morning, everyone. Oh, yes. It's our Big Friday show. Come on. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Tony is here. There it is. What up, Tony? Tony, please say hi to the boys and girls. Come on. There's no need to hold out. Okay?
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah. All right. And, we got rid of the countdown. Yeah, we got rid of the countdown because one of you said, how come you still do the countdown? It was actually a comment by a replay viewer. And so I caucused with, I forget who I caucused with. Tony, did I talk to you about it? I forget.
I think so. It was me, yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Thanks, Tony.
Anyway.
Okay, get rid of it.
Or maybe it was Kim. I don't know.
Kim,
That was my mascara 30 seconds, people.
Kim, how are you?
So we got rid of the countdown, the 30-second countdown. Guess who's back from his golfing vacation? Albert, everybody.
Albert, thank you.
Oh, Albert. We love you, Albert. Albert, Albert has a real gig. This is just kind of a thing. He hangs out in slums with us occasionally, which is kind of cool. But he did put together a cool Florida segment. And the Florida segment will be at 10:35, Friday Fabulous Florida. There is a lot going on, and we'll get to all of it. It's a big day on Fridays. We talk to our political experts, Jim Avila and Michael Shure. Both should be on board. That'll be just after 11 o'clock. And, of course, Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, will be here at 11:35. And I have kind of a major announcement in relation to the death of David Crosby, which was not expected, even though he's certainly running the steeplechase of challenges when it comes to, addictions and all the rest. But I do want to mention that I think this is pretty. I'm going to say it's a major announcement. So I'm going to. A major announcement from the Mark Thompson Show. I think it is. A major announcement. The guy who wrote the Crosby biographies, autobiography. I believe David Crosby wrote. How many of these high-profile personalities write their autobiographies. They write them with another writer, a real writer. The guy who wrote David Crosby's 2 books is a guy named Carl Gottlieb. He's been on the show before. He wrote Jaws and The Jerk with Steve Martin, those movies, Jaws and The Jerk. And he wrote the David Crosby books, and a good friend of David Crosby's. And that's not easy because David Crosby turned off a lot of people, as you know.
Google it.
So there it is, Long Time Gone, the autobiography of David Crosby. David Crosby, Carl Gottlieb. You see it there at the bottom. Carl will join us, and Carl was going to join us today. He was ready to go. He said, yeah, I'd be happy to come on with reflections on David Crosby, a little, this guy's had an amazing life, right, David Crosby, from Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young. So I said, he said, what time do you need me? I said, well, how about a little after 10? Anytime between 10 and 11, we do Florida, 10:35, so maybe like 10 after 10, something like that. He said, Mark, that's way too early for me. So I said, well, how about, we can tape something after the show goes off. How's 1 o'clock in the afternoon? He said, that's really still a little bit early.
Oh, that's so funny.
What?
I love him.
It's so rock and roll. Dude's a rock and roller. I don't know how old Carl is, but he's probably as old as David Crosby.
Should have said 1 a.m. See what he said.
So finally, here's what we're going to do, and this is the major announcement part. We're going to record something with Carl today, and we'll run it on Monday as part of the show. And Carl is amazing, and as I say, he really knew Crosby. I mean, sat down and knew Crosby through the addiction period, and then knew Crosby to chronicle it all, and then wrote the second book with Crosby when Crosby got the liver transplant, and that essentially allowed him to live out a whole second half of his life, if you want to think of it that way. So Carl will be in with his recorded conversation. We'll record it today, this afternoon. It will run on Monday. So I think that's pretty cool. It's a great get, I think, and I'm looking forward to it. So there's that.
This has been a major announcement.
Right.
Thompson
Now's a major announcement. Yes, thank you.
Do you have another major announcement?
I've got a couple of major announcements, actually.
Okay.
What?
Yes, I do. I have the major announcement that, which major announcement are you talking about, Kim? And I'll try
I thought we were supposed to hear a major announcement yesterday, but then I don't recall hearing one.
You're right about that. I have a major announcement related to...
major announcement.
Yes. I do have a major announcement.
Major announcement.
I do. And this is... Let me go. I need to show you something. For this major announcement, I need to show you something. Let me just get it.
I love how we never really got out of Shadow Stevens what that is at the end of the major announcement. He never said.
We asked him, and he said, I've got 10,000 sounds. I have no idea what that one is.
We didn't know.
We asked him straight up.
Yeah.
This is because you asked for this, the Mark merch people. First of all, I want to tell you this. This T-shirt behind me, the one that says KJO in Exile, many of you have purchased them. Many of you have sent us great pictures of you wearing them.
Yep.
That T-shirt goes away at the end of this month, I'm told, okay? Yep. They actually asked for additional inventory because people wanted them. So that inventory is going to be exhausted at the end of the month. It goes away. Okay, so that is one thing, but that's not the major announcement.
Sayonara,
We're the Sayonara sucker.
Sayonara,
Thank
sucker.
you. That's it. Right.
Good day, sir.
Right. So this is, I don't know if you can see it.
Is that a Mark Thompson Show hoodie?
It's a Mark Thompson Show hoodie.
Oh, nice.
And it is absolutely the coolest thing. It's got
pockets.
These pockets in front. Yeah.
Ah.
And
does it have the logo on the back too?
No, that's one of the things I like about it.
Okay.
You're not like a walking billboard in back.
Sure.
It's a tasteful. And then this is threaded, okay? And Courtney went crazy when she saw this. She said, "Oh my God, I want one of these. This is incredible. Look at the threading; it's really well done."
Oh,
I
so
love
it's
this.
embroidered. It's not just like a
Thank
plastic
you. What is
logo
that? Yeah,
slapped
embroidered.
on
That
there.
was the word I was looking for. Yes.
Google it.
Okay. Anyway, that was the word I was looking for. So, yeah. So it's really quite nice. And now it's not up there yet, but it is. And I want to be clear. It's because you, the supporters, the community, the listeners, the viewers of this show wanted this. That's why there'll be a Mark Thompson Show hoodie coming to the merch site.
It's got to be expensive. I'm guessing $80.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what, it's funny you say that. I have no idea how much it's going to be. I said to Courtney, I said, I think it's too expensive. I don't know if I want to put it up there. I don't want people to be turned off by how expensive it is. She said, well, it's a good hoodie. Don't be, don't be that way.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing. People want it.
But new sweatshirts are expensive.
Yeah. So anyway, we're very excited about that.
Sweatshirt at the Monterey Aquarium is like $85. So
that in itself, you'd think should be enough for the major announcement, but there's actually more.
What?
That's right. Yeah. I mean,
what?
Yes. This is would you call it, is it a fanny pack? I think my Courtney says they wear, the kids wear them like this. Albert, you're a kid. Do you guys wear them like this now, like over your shoulder? If you wear these
sometimes
things?
Over the shoulder, but more over the chest, like a crossbody bag.
Oh, over the chest. I love that. Yeah.
It looks
That's
great.
what Courtney...
Exactly like that. Yep.
Thank you very Now you see how Albert has done well in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, right.
Totally uncool. Are you sure we want to include this?
Well, I said that. It's totally uncool. But what I'm told is that, no, the fanny pack thing that was the 80s or whatever, that is not cool. But now the kids, Albert and the other kids, they're wearing them across like that. Isn't that right, Albert, or not? I mean, we don't have to.
Yeah. I've participated in this.
So
and you are cool, Albert. So
across the chest.
Kim, maybe you should maybe get a coolness check. Okay,
maybe I'm the uncool.
Yeah, maybe you are not as hip as you think you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
can we just hook up your kids with a couple Mark Thompson crossbody bags?
Yes, maybe you do need to, Kim. Okay, yeah, that's a good idea, Albert.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah. The other thing about this, and then I want to get into some news. but I do want to show you this. I had no idea. I have nothing to do with this. Okay, these are the merch people who sent me this. You open up the top, okay, and then inside in the pouch is
that you?
a picture of me.
What?
But it's also the pocket. It's the pocket where you put like the valuable stuff. So there are two pockets. The thing that carries everything, right? That's here. And then behind my picture, there is another pocket where you can put money and other stuff. There's like a
that's
false.
cute.
Yes, there you go.
And then you're really with me wherever I go. I
There
like
it is.
it.
It's something. I didn't design it. I didn't ask them to do it. It's really cool, and congratulations. It's not up yet. They'll have it. I think they may have it beginning next week. The hoodie, and then after that, they'll have the. I guess if you want to, you call that a fanny pack? Is that what that is? I think so. Right. All right. Anyway, that's the major announcement.
This has been a major announcement of the Mark Thompson Show. Major announcement.
So if you're keeping track, it's two major announcements today. On Monday, I have another major announcement. And it's going to affect the next couple of weeks of programming, and everything's fine.
Yeah.
But I do want to make the announcement of the on Monday. So we have one in the offing. Do smash the like button in the meantime like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
Hit the thumbs up, and that helps us. Also, subscribe to the show if you're just passing through. Those subscriptions help us. We're closing in on 9,000 subs. We're going for 10,000, so we're hoping that will happen as well. King tides are going to inundate Marin.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of a big deal. And
The Mark Thompson Show.
It's going to happen this weekend in Marin. The highest tides of the year, known commonly as king tides, are coming to Marin this weekend. It'll produce flooding in low-lying areas at high tide. It'll be, this is an issue, like China Camp State Park in San Rafael. They're expecting flooding. So be aware, is all I would say to our friends in Marin. The highest tides are predicted for Saturday morning. They're forecast to reach almost 7 feet at 10:25 in the morning in Sausalito.
Yeah.
Just over 7 feet at 10:43 at Point Chauncey on the Tiburon Peninsula, and 7.08 feet at 10:57 at Point San Quentin. That's according to NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. So there's that. I think that's kind of a big deal. Again, that's something that does happen, but it's not, meaning it's not an extraordinary, geological event, but it is important to keep some awareness about that. I mentioned David Crosby dying at 81, and we're going to do a big thing on David Crosby and who he was and his the magnificent part of his talent, and also the troubled part of his life, and then the rebirth part of his life and the relevance with which he really gained traction in his later years as well. To be relevant on into your later years as a creative force, I think is really quite extraordinary, and Crosby was one of those people. But as I say, very troubled. Turned off a lot of people, got into a lot of arguments. Crosby himself was from a show business family. Isn't that right, Kim? He was from, his dad was an Oscar-winning cinematographer, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Google it.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll get into a big thing with Carl, as I say, his biographer and his good friend, and you'll have that all on Monday. We'll have it a little bit later today.
You know what? I was reading an article about Melissa Etheridge, who he is the father of her 2 kids.
Oh, that's right. I'd forgotten that. Yeah.
And so she kind of spoke out about him and was reacting to the loss of him.
I had completely forgotten about that. Yeah, what a wild ride David Crosby had. What a wild ride. I wanted to mention something. This, I guess, really falls into the category. I've got some great Law and Disorder stuff, but I can't run the Law and Disorder open and close anymore because I got a copyright strike on using the music from Law and Order, right? Even though we use it, but we populate it and punctuate it with all that other stuff. So I wrote to Craig, who does all of the opens and closes. He's just a brilliantly creative guy. And I said, hey, we love your open, but we can't use the music anymore. So I sent him some music that was cleared, courtesy of Eric, who is our music guru. And we are going to have a new open and close from Law and Disorder, but it'll be just kind of like the other one. So this would be in a Law and Disorder segment, and it would be preceded by a Law and Disorder open. So just imagine that that is what's happening right now. So I don't know how to do that, like, Law and Disorder. This is it. Okay. I mean, I'll just run a little generic thing, but I'm just saying, imagine a big open. That was what should be.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the opposite of a big open. But okay, all right, here we go. 3 active duty Marines are arrested for participating in the U.S. Capitol riot, January 6th.
Oh, no, really?
Yep. Active duty Marines.
Not even close. Wait, didn't they take an oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States?
It's what I used to tell Brett Burkhart, who was so absolutely impressed by people who took oaths and the solemnity of certain ceremony in Congress. I said, dude, don't be impressed by that. This is all performance. It's all theater. People don't respect their oaths all the time.
No, you
and
promised.
Here's an example.
If you promise, then you should face, that you promise. No take-backsies. If you promise, then you need to pay.
Well,
big.
Maybe you should make the no take-backsies argument, too. These are active duty Marines. They worked in intelligence, all right? One of them apparently used to speak openly about the need for a second civil war. Anyway, they were arrested this week, I should say, for breaching the U.S. Capitol. January 6th, I don't need to tell you what happened then. Micah Coomer, Sergeants Joshua Abate, and Dale Hallinan, facing several charges, including disorderly conduct in a Capitol building. FBI agents first became aware of them because of Coomer, who posted pictures of himself inside the Capitol building on Instagram. Agents investigated his Instagram account. They discovered messages he wrote to a separate user that he was waiting for a second civil war. Everything in this country is corrupt. We honestly need a fresh restart. I'm waiting for the boogaloo. What's a boogaloo? The person said, who was writing back to him.
Yeah.
Civil War II, Coomer replied. Apparently that's a rallying cry that's used among some far-right groups to call for a second civil war. Boogaloo.
It's the Boogaloo Boys.
Exactly. So they busted him, and now they're in custody. But again, it points to the breach. It's sort of what Kim's talking about. The breach in public service that's occurred in the military and law enforcement. There's more and more of that.
It's just traitorous. Absolutely traitorous.
Exactly. And, for everybody who says, well, that's right. I mean, it's everything's corrupt and we need a fresh start. It's a very fragile thing, democracy. And I don't even know that we really have in fact, I can say we don't have a democracy that's working and hitting on all pistons, okay? And again, the politics will put it away till the 11 o'clock hour a little bit, but just on this, I'll make the point that you don't hit a reboot on this place that we live, America, through a civil war. These people they're playing soldier without bloodshed, without essentially the system we have and culture we have going down the drain. You'll have your retirement, if you only care about the money, your retirement funds will go away. The stock market will tank. the government will be on its side. Is that really what you bugaloo boys want? You're playing with fire, and the whole place can burn down.
As we saw. Right?
So,
exactly. I never believed it until that day. And then I saw how fragile everything really is.
And I think the January 6th committee hearings were useful in showing you how many people bought into that. But there is no way to sort of erase everything, start all over again with your people without this place that you value, with these things that you value, with the, schools, where your kids play, where your money is, without these things being destroyed along the way. So there is no reset button. You can't reboot like you do your computer. That's why, look, I hate the system. I talk about it all the time. Talk about how we should open up the hood on everything, the electoral process, electoral college. I talk about how we are underrepresented in Congress. I talk about the North Dakota, South Dakota thing. Why isn't that just one state? I talk about Washington, D.C. not being a state, even though it has a population that's, it's more populous than 20 other states. Mm-hmm. How come those people don't get one person, one vote in America? How come? So I talk about all these things. I get it. We can have critical looks at this country without rebooting. Sadly, we have to work inside this horribly flawed system, which is oligarchical on top of that. In other words, it's run by rich people. I get it. But to turn the whole system over with a civil war, come on. Italy's most wanted mafia boss, Matteo Messina Denaro, arrested in Sicily after 30 years.
Good day, sir.
They got him.
I mean, let him go. He's just doing what he's always done.
How is it?
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker,
Okay, yeah.
Joe Box, and Little Anthony.
Yeah, I'm sure they got all of them. He's 60 years old. He was at a private clinic in Palermo at the time of the arrest. Matteo Messina Denaro, arrested in Sicily. He is Italy's most wanted mafia boss. Oh. Yeah. He's been on the run since 1993. It's a great victory for the state, said the prime minister, that they were able to get him. The last Godfather, they're calling him.
What he's got going here is a situation.
He definitely has a situation. He was captured at a private clinic where he was getting treatment for an undisclosed medical condition. And he was taken to a secret location by cops immediately after the arrest because, he's got a lot of friends who want to get him out of the joint. So,
Mo Black's brother, Fat Andy.
Yeah, Fat Andy probably wants to get him out. That's a good point. But
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Joe Box and Little Anthony have already been apprehended. So, but that's the latest on the mafia boss, the last Godfather, they're calling him. So he is he's behind bars for the last time. Yeah. That's
he's probably a really bad.
Go
he's
ahead.
probably a really bad guy, but for some reason I feel bad that he's locked up.
Yeah.
we kind of like the mobsters here on this show,
I don't know.
What?
I think he's a really bad guy. I think you could stop there, okay, Kim? I think we didn't really go into all the badness.
Not the mobster. What?
He's the Godfather. He's ordered a lot of people killed. He's extorted a lot of money from people. When they didn't pay it, he killed them. I think you can feel good that he's in custody.
Hey, he's just misunderstood.
They also described it as a great victory for the state. It took quite a long time for this victory. They did quite take their time. I don't know if that was the law enforcement or he was doing a great job with having dodged everything.
Right.
That good.
Albert, thank you.
It's kind of, you're saying, Albert, maybe a little early to take a victory lap when you say it's a great victory for the state.
He's still alive and he's still going, but also it took a really long time. 1993.
Yeah. Right. It took you guys 30 years to catch him. So before, I wouldn't do your touchdown
dance. It was a
dance
victory for the state. I thought a great victory.
Yeah. 3 members are sentenced to life in the 2020 shooting death of a Family Dollar security guard over a face mask dispute. I want to share this story with you because it's extraordinary, and it just speaks to the madness that can be unleashed in this country, and in every situation, in a moment. Okay, let me just tell you this story. It's really quick. Do you remember there was a Family Dollar security guard This is a guy just trying to make a living in Flint, Michigan in 2020. He asked the customer to wear the mask inside the store because that was the store policy. And remember, in 2020, that was the policy in these congregate settings. You had to wear a mask. And the security guard, Calvin Manorlin, was shot after telling the customer that she needed to wear a mask in the store. Again, retail employees and customers were required by a statewide executive order to wear masks to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Well, 3 members of this family, Charmel Lash Teague, Larry Teague, and Ramonea Bishop, each convicted on murder and felony firearms charges in connection with the shooting. Apparently, this guy, Larry Teague, is a habitual offender as well. They are all going to get life in prison on the murder charge. Yeah. It is it's a sad day. Doesn't bring back this, I think, poor guy who's just trying to do his job, the Family Dollar security guard. But there you go. Those mask disputes, remember those at the beginning of COVID?
Oh, yeah.
Here's a guy who lost his life over it. Wow. That's Law and Disorder for today. And we would play the theme, but I don't want to get a copyright, so I...
Can we sing it? Boom, boom.
I don't know.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I want to acknowledge Steve Moskowitz. Do you want to send him? I did send him the link, but you always send it to him again, please, Albert. I haven't seen him sometimes,
Yeah,
I think, when we haven't. Yeah, just in case. But I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't, I'm just looking to see if he sent me something. I don't see anything from him, so I don't know. But maybe, sometimes I send these the night before, sometimes just to get it done, and then people lose it in the email from the night before. When we come back, I want to do from Florida news. It is really cool. I think coming up in Florida news, former producer John Daly is going to join us for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's kind of that should have been a major announcement as well. So, thank you everybody in the chat who's got the Law and Disorder.
I did miss girls who can't keep an address.
Yeah, that's right. And men who don't care.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, let's be safe out there. That's right. That was the close, says Jim. Right. All right. So when we come back, we do Florida. I believe John Daly will join us. Maybe Moskowitz gets a word with us, I should say, as well. And Avila, Shure, talk politics. We'll talk debt. I'm going to talk about Ukraine and how our position on Ukraine is changing a little bit. There he is. Is that him? No, it's Daly. Oh, Daly will join us then. That's going to be fun. All right, all of that still to come. Smash that like button like a boss. Give me a thumbs up.
Smashed it with your iron
rod. We worked
rod.
so hard for you. All we ask is a thumbs up. And now the great medieval news theme for Kim's News.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report sponsored by Steve Moskowitz, tax attorney extraordinaire at 888 Tax Deal. There is a big rally underway in Washington, D.C. right now. It is the March for Life rally, and it is on. It's the first since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, that decision that legalized abortion nationwide decades ago. Big names set to speak, including Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch, who pursued the case that eventually got Roe overturned. Google is laying off now 12,000 workers. It is true. It continues a trend in the tech industry that's seen many people receive layoff notices. There are fears the economy is going to slip into a recession. Amazon also letting go of more than 18,000 employees. Microsoft cutting 10,000. And again, here at Google, 12,000 workers are going to be losing their jobs. So,
big tech laying off all of these people. I'm so glad you're doing this Google story. So we had the Amazon with the Google. Yeah. And what you'll hear is, well, they're not on a percentage basis laying off that many people, but the reality is that's still a lot of people they're laying off. And it's a sign a bit of the times and the way things have turned a bit in tech.
After the Station X implosion and the mass layoff around a conference table, I feel it. And so I think 12,000 more people are sitting here wondering where their next paycheck is going to come. There
That's
are
right.
fewer people that are purchasing previously owned homes. I Googled previously owned homes. This previously owned double wide log home came up, and I thought that's kind of pretty. That's a
Yeah.
mobile home. Isn't that nice?
Wow, that's very nice. So you're saying you could move that if you had it to? We could
Yeah.
put that home in a different place tomorrow if you wanted to.
I mean, I think you could put that home in a trailer park type of thing,
Yeah?
but it looks
Really?
nice to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, anyway. What's the story, though?
So the fewer people are buying previously owned homes. The National Association of Realtors saying existing home sales fell 1.5% in December, marking the 11th straight monthly decline. For the year, sales down nearly 18% from 2021 as high mortgage rates and tight supply kept many buyers on the sidelines. So that is the story there. President Biden, here he is. It's been 2 years since President Biden took office. Since his inauguration, the president has secured several legislative victories, including the sweeping bipartisan infrastructure law and the CHIPS Act to revamp the high-tech manufacturing market. But his administration has also faced big challenges like grappling with the COVID pandemic and the crisis at the southern border, historic inflation as well. Of course, yesterday the president was on the Central Coast, and I saw lots of pictures on Facebook of a plane in the sky flying over people's homes. Like, there's the president flying over my house. So, yeah.
It was wild how everybody was out there with cameras and stuff. Yeah, it was wild.
Pizza Hut embarking on a mission to create the world's biggest pizza. That's what we need. The company plans to make a...
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
This pizza is going to be bigger than many houses. They plan to make a 14,000 square foot pizza at the Los Angeles Convention Center.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then they're going to donate all the slices to local food banks.
Oh,
this
my
requires
God.
more than 13,000 pounds of dough,
Oh,
5,000 pounds of pizza sauce, 8,800 pounds of cheese for the 14,000 square foot pizza.
Tell your little friends, the dreams do come true.
That is a dream for some. Huge pizza. How big is it?
14,000 square feet. I mean, seriously, at the LA Convention Center.
I mean, seriously?
Seriously, what the
I mean, and they're going to donate
14,000 square foot pizza?
14,000 square foot pizza. I'm not even joking.
Oh,
So,
my God. There's a picture of it. If you're listening on the podcast, you can at least flip over to YouTube and see this workers trying to put together this pizza.
It's wild. Wow. I guess you would have to build it in a way that you couldn't step on it because you're going to donate it to food banks. So why? My question is,
world's largest, Crashed on the Beach says, world's largest case of food poisoning. Yeah, exactly. There seems to be a few things. It is kind of, I don't know. How do they cook it? Randy's asking.
They take it over to Tony's house, and bit by bit, they shove it in the pizza oven.
Tony does have a new pizza oven thing. How big a pizza can you make in that thing, Tony?
Well, 15-inch pizza, like a
All right.
large.
Thanks, Tony.
You don't need to be
Not that.
you don't need to be apologetic about it. That's a pretty big pizza.
14,000 square foot pizza oven.
That's gonna take a while.
All right. Yeah.
Maybe they're gonna oven fire it there at the Los Angeles Convention Center.
Yeah. Is that a thin crust or is it a crispy crust? Is that's what? What did Tom say? Is that thin and crappy crust? I see. Sorry, I'm glad I looked at that. I'm sorry, Kim. Go ahead, please.
So speaking of food poisoning, wow,
that's not nice.
There's the story. I think this is the Taco Bell at the beach in Pacifica. Colorado police are investigating whether rat poison was inside of a man's Taco Bell meal. The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office says a man got into an argument with an employee at Taco Bell over a broken soda machine at an Aurora location Sunday. After eating the extra burrito he was given, he became violently ill and was admitted to the hospital. Staff suspect there may have been a foreign substance in the burrito. Investigators are looking at video footage from the restaurant. They say they hope to do testing on any.
What's that? Oh, you just hit the... She's been muted. What happened with that? What happened with Kim's mute?
I don't know. Sorry if I muted myself.
There you go. Finish the last part again, please.
So the investigators looking at video footage from the restaurant. They're trying to test any leftover food found at his home, but the suspicion is that there was rat poison in his burrito. That is unconfirmed.
Wow, that's that'll kill business.
An accusation. So, if there's something wrong with the drink machine, don't raise a fuss.
Man, that's brutal, I think.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Well, there's rat poison on the scene. All right.
This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz for more than 30 years. Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for everyone. Doesn't matter if you're filing as an individual or a business or what have you. Steve Moskowitz will be there for you. So you can call Steve at 888-TAX-DEAL. You can also find him at MoskowitzLLP.com, all spelled out for you right there at the bottom of your screen. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson. The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked.
Welcome to our Friday show. If you're just joining us, it's great to have you here. And our special guest this Friday, you'll recognize the voice. You'll recognize the name. He is the former producer of this show, John Daly, everybody. Come on.
Yeah.
Hey.
Come on, John Daly. This is great.
Hey, Tony, am I too hot?
You feel like you're too hot to me.
What angered you, Tony?
You're a little hot. You're a little hot, I think.
That's,
it's a let's not go nuts with this.
How's that,
first
Tony?
appearance. Is that better, Tony?
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Go for that.
Thanks, Tony.
See, the problem is my cat attacks my microphone, so he's always adjusting the levels now. But I'm not on the air, so
the cat's adjusting levels. I see.
Archie's
John,
really in control.
We're glad to have you and Archie here for this segment because it is our favorite. It's the Florida segment. And so without any further delay, I want to get it all in. We're really excited that you're here. We hope this will be the first of many return visits that you'll make. But let's do some Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
And everybody, from former producer John Daly to Albert to Tony to Kim and all of you in the text. You just
why don't you just text it?
Exactly. You can put it right in there into the chat and comment at will over these stories. This is a classic caper.
Uh-oh.
A guy attempting to rob a Publix. There are many Publix stores in Florida. This Florida man attempting to rob the Publix with a stapler, everybody. That's right.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. He went in with a stapler and...
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Give me everything you've got.
That's the one right next to the Office Depot?
It is. It is in that mini mall.
Yeah.
Patrick Abbott, 31, entered a Publix on Biscayne Boulevard. Gave an employee a note. Told her to put the money in a bag. Or he was going to staple her to the wall. No, he said he had a gun. He said he had a gun, but he actually had a stapler. The employee read the note. She pretended to help one of her coworkers and called for help. Abbott left the Publix empty-handed, I should say, and was caught by empty-handy ought to be a thing. Too.
What? Smashed it with your iron rod.
Yes, smashed. He was caught by Miami cops. while throwing the note away. So it's tough. Caught in the act of throwing the note away.
Oh, because he didn't recycle it.
Yeah. The gun he claimed to have turned out to be a black stapler, according to the cops. They're going to still charge him with robbery.
You use what you got, you know?
That's right.
You should have gone to Home Depot and got a staple gun.
Yeah, you're right.
Come on,
both
dude.
a gun
This
and
is
a
Florida.
stapler.
Step up.
I got to give the guy credit for, improving. Central Florida guy sentenced for plotting to kill his ex-wife with poison in a water gun. Wow.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
What is she supposed to open her mouth while he squirts it in there? What?
It is, I agree with Kim in the implied question that she asks, which is it's an odd way to off somebody, don't you think?
At least he didn't use a stapler. He's got the gun.
True. Yeah, the stapler's been done. Dude, saw it in Miami. This is the Kissimmee, or is it Kissimmee, isn't it? Is that how they say it in Florida?
I think.
Yeah.
Kissimmee. He's been sentenced, this guy from Kissimmee has been sentenced for plotting to kill his former partner with a poisoned water gun. Kevin Jones is his name. He's 50 years old. He got 10 years in federal prison for this. Unlawfully possessing the ricin, which is a biological toxin.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a serious poison. So
he had ricin in a water gun?
He had a couple of firearms also.
And how did they figure that out?
Oh, my God.
He reportedly planned to spray his former partner with the poison using the water gun. So it's exactly as you said it was, Kim. He was going to spray his former partner with the poison using a water gun. Then he was going to go on vacation. So he had an alibi. This is, again, according to his story and what cops...
Wait, then he was going to go on vacation?
Yeah.
Don't you need it to happen at the same time to be an alibi?
If you go on vacation soon enough, you can say, I was on vacation. I think is the plan.
I see.
Yeah. So he was caught with the ricin and the water gun. So you're kind of, you're kind of done. And the cops are taking a victory lap on this. They say the investigation demonstrates the strength of our law enforcement partnership and the determination of special agents and officers who risk their lives every day to keep the public safe. So
I'm actually impressed that the Florida cops figured that out.
Yeah, I think they're getting hipper, but I would say they're overworked down there. They've got a lot of cases to uncover. A Florida man. Here's a thank you, Albert, for getting us the reptile stories. Albert had to scramble to get a lot of these Florida stories.
It's not easy. It's never easy in this business.
It's never easy in this business. Where is my never easy in this business?
First, thank you.
No.
I've told you it's never easy being in this business.
That's the one. A Florida man is injured when an iguana falls on his face during a yoga class.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, it is that time of year.
Yeah, it's right. Where the iguanas fall because of the cold.
Oh.
A Florida man was left bruised and bleeding after an iguana fell on his face during a yoga class in Miami.
I did have to search this story a couple of times because it was kind of unbelievable. So I had to do a deep dive to confirm that this was a true story.
Establishing the bona fides of this story.
Albert, thank you.
Yes.
Got to get to the truth.
Very, very impressive, Albert. Thank you. Instructor Ana Margaret Sanchez was teaching a free community class at Miami's Legion Park in the Upper East Side neighborhood of Miami. Sanchez live streams the session on Instagram so that people at home can still take part in the yoga. She was holding the class. It was a beautiful day, and the class cut short when two iguanas, who onlookers say were likely having a territorial dispute, started to create a ruckus in the oak tree above the class. During their fight, one of the iguanas either fell or was pushed by the other iguana straight down.
Were they shooting at each other?
That would be the most Florida thing if they had knives out. But when the iguana fell, it fell right onto one of the yogis below. She was bruised, injured, And the guy who was hit by the giant lizard, I'm sorry, so she is there and there's another guy there. They're both leading the yoga class, and he was hit. He said, I didn't see it coming. It felt like a sandbag hit me in the face.
Oh.
Yeah. The first thing that went through my head was it must have been a coconut. But there were no coconut trees, he said. Then I thought maybe the guy next to me slugged me. But then I looked next to me and there was no guy next to me. I mean, we're in a yoga class and it's so calm and peaceful. Why would a guy hit me, I thought. And they say the iguana likely weighed between 20 and 30 pounds and fell from a branch that was about 25 feet in the air. So if you do the arithmetic and the physics, that hurts. Anyway, apparently he'll be okay.
And he did choose in the article to not give his full name, so he didn't want that embarrassment to carry with him.
Well, he didn't want the iguana's family to come after him either.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Yeah, exactly. They might have come after him. Anyway, he'll be okay is the important thing. And then this. A Florida woman is pulled from a storm drain for the third time in 2 years. I mean, she really
reported on the first 2 times on KGO.
Wow.
How do you even do that?
That's a wild fact. Albert is relaying that we've had the story twice already about the same woman.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. A woman pulled from a storm drain for the third time in just over 2 years. Delray Beach cops say they responded to a call of someone possibly in distress while swimming in a canal near Lindell Boulevard. Where's Lindell Boulevard, John?
Oh, you know where that is. It's right down the street from Whole Foods and Publix.
Yeah, there you go. When officers asked if the woman needed help, police said she ignored them and climbed into a storm drain pipe.
Oh, ma'am.
The woman refused to come out, began crawling farther into the pipe, according to the cops. Firefighters still able to get her between 2 sections of the pipe.
Well, maybe she heard your first show and she was really excited and wanted to get back on.
Yeah.
She's like, I know what I'll do.
Right.
It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, apparently.
I mean, if we're speaking things into existence, maybe next time get caught with a machete in the storm drain to make this more of a Florida story.
Yeah, right. If you want, please step up your game.
Yeah.
I mean, we get it.
You got caught again in a storm drain. Like that.
Where's the meth pipe? Come on.
Right, exactly. Change your pipe. My God. A Florida woman and her son accused of running a brothel. Wow. Chris, that is not cool.
Yeah, keeping it in the family.
Yes. A mother and son are facing charge. I shouldn't laugh. I certainly don't approve. A mother and son are facing charges of making a living by running a brothel out of a Florida home.
As one does.
Yeah, well, you know, you talk about starting a small business. Before you know it, you're the most popular house on the block.
You need to call Steve Moskowitz.
That's right. Steve can help you. I don't think Steve really deals with illegal activities too much.
He's from New York.
Hey, look, it's just saying.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
All right. You can, I don't know. An investigation by the Palm Beach County Human Trafficking Task Force, that's the Vice Squad, found the house in Lake Worth Beach, actually a brothel operation that offered commercial sexual activity. Authorities said the suspect's trouble began with a complaint with underage girls involved. Oh, that's not cool. Okay. So they learned both the son and the mom were involved in this activity. I mean, they were the purveyors of the activity. They weren't actually giving out sex themselves. The detectives say the mom worked the door and took money. The Johns, as they're called, would knock on the door and be let in. They'd pay $50 and be handed a card. They then would pick a female commercial sex worker that they wanted to go into a room with, hand over the card, engage in sexual acts, and leave. It was a $50 and 15-minute limit. You get it all done in 15 minutes.
Sounds like a Geico ad.
It is. Look, they're behind bars is the important point.
Yeah.
A Florida man, self-proclaimed arsonist, arrested after burning a sheriff's patrol vehicle.
No.
Yeah.
The guy. Well, the reason he felt bad for doing it, according to the deputies.
There was remorse.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Callers reported the vehicle, a Hernando County Sheriff's Office patrol vehicle, parked in the parking lot of an apartment complex. It was in the area of Northcliffe Boulevard, for people who know Florida. Northcliffe Boulevard and Portillo Road in Spring Hill, Florida. Where is that, John? Northcliffe Boulevard?
Right by the Whole Foods.
Yes, thank you very much. Several patrol deputies, along with Hernando County Fire and Emergency Services, arrived on the scene. They put the fire out. They saw severe damage. Another vehicle parked near the patrol vehicle also sustained damage from the fire. They began investigating. A male approached during the investigation at the crime scene. That's the way these fire bugs are often. The male, later identified as Anthony Thomas Tarduno, detained. Tarduno admitted to starting the fire, said he was intoxicated. When he gets drunk, he does, quote, stupid things.
Yeah, I was willing to bet my lunch.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
He went to a nearby dumpster. He grabbed a bag of garbage, then placed the bag under the patrol vehicle and used a lighter to set it ablaze. That's a pretty low-tech caper.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
It did do a lot of damage, so that's not cool. And he's on 2 counts of arson and has a $30,000 bond, so that it ends ugly for... And finally, there's this out of Florida. A Florida man accused of impersonating an officer steals from an elderly man at 7-Eleven. Yes, he's under arrest now, but when he was out there, he was robbing and impersonating law enforcement officers. He's James Troy Davis, 52 years old. In Osceola County. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Cops responded to the 7-Eleven gas station on Bronson Memorial Highway. An elderly man said an unknown white man helped him fill his gas tank. After helping him, he said the man said he was a police officer and told the victim he looked too tired to drive. Apparently, he then told the man to park in one of the parking spots in front of the 7-Eleven. When he began to flash what the man said were patrol lights on the grill of his vehicle, he believed that the guy was a police officer. Deputies said that he then saw the man wearing stolen jewelry. This is what the guy who was impersonating a police officer claimed, that the jewelry that the guy was wearing was stolen, and that he wanted it handed over right away because it was clearly stolen. The man got scared. He handed the jewelry over to this guy who's impersonating the police officer. He took a photo of the jewelry, told the man that he'd return it to him within an hour if he could confirm that indeed it was not stolen. He took off with the man's 2 gold rings, a necklace, a bracelet. And my God, it was a lot of stuff. I mean, the poor guy.
If you get it in order, you get extra points.
2 gold rings, a necklace, and a bracelet.
You know, you always have to be careful when someone offers to help you, right? Yeah, it's the offer of help that should have been the first red flag. What's
$30,000 worth of jewelry.
And I think the older boys and girls should probably stay away from 7-Eleven. Haven't we seen enough of these stories?
I will tell you that 7-Eleven has become a sadly scary place.
Every story is like an elderly man, like beat at 7-Eleven, trying to...
People take advantage of our older boys and girls. I don't like it, but it happens, and there are a lot of older boys and girls in Florida. Yeah. So there's that. That is Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Well, we need to pick a favorite, and I'll remind you of the stories. Did we put up a YouTube poll on this, Albert, or not today?
The poll's up right now, so I have 4 options there. The stapler robbery, poison water gun. I combined those. I have storm drain woman, iguana yoga, and impersonating officer.
Okay, so you can find
Albert, thank you.
You can find those on YouTube. You can find the polls, and you pick your favorite there on YouTube, and we will update that at the beginning of the next hour. So we do it. It's kind of a turbo poll. But meantime, we ask everybody here, the assembled, and we will start with our guest today, John Daly. But let me remind you what the stories were. Florida man uses stapler in attempt to rob Publix. Central Florida man sentenced for plotting to kill his ex with poison that's in a water gun. He had ricin. Florida man injured when the iguana falls on his face while he was teaching yoga class.
I don't know.
A Florida woman pulled from the storm drain for the third time in 2 years. We've reported on each and every storm drain extraction event here on Friday Fabulous Florida. Family business that was a brothel working out of a home in Florida. A Florida man, self-proclaimed arsonist, admits to the cops that he was the one who set fire to the patrol vehicle, and he says he was drunk and regrets it. And then finally, the Florida man accused of stealing from the elderly man at 7-Eleven. I ask you, John Daly, for a favor, please.
I like the stapler story, but I got to go for iguana knockout.
Yeah.
I like that they were like working together.
Yeah. There was a fight.
It was like a caper.
Yeah, it's true. So you go for iguana knockout is your point.
John Daly, my producer.
Okay, and tell me what you like, Kim. Do you agree with John Daly?
I feel like I do, but I was going to go sewer because 3 times in a sewer, how quintessentially Florida could you get?
Yeah.
But iguana, you win me. Yes.
Kim, how are you?
All right. Iguana in the park. Tony, what do you like? What's your favorite? We can't hear
Firebug
Tony.
police car.
Firebug police car.
Thanks, Tony.
Strong choice.
And
just because he's drunk and all that, just
yeah.
With, and he did
he's
it with
drunk.
trash.
He's disorderly.
He didn't think it was going to work. I know he did.
Thanks,
Tony. It did.
But isn't that the default in Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah, drunk and out of control.
No.
Right. He was sober.
Albert, you live and breathe these stories. Which one is your favorite?
It's an easy answer. It's a storm drain woman. I can't wait for the 4th time, and I can't wait for us to talk about it.
Albert, thank you.
That's so good.
Maybe you could book her.
Yeah,
she's the gift that keeps on giving.
We should book her, Albert. That's
she could do a live shot.
Thought. Yeah. In the chat, it's
Iguana Yoga is kind of running away with it. 62% of the votes so far out of 79. 1 vote for impersonating officer. So that was very impressive. That's the most impressive stat you get from this poll.
You can participate in the poll on YouTube.
Why don't you just text it?
If you're watching it in replay, you can leave us your favorite there in comments while you're smashing the like button like a boss. My favorite, it is a photo finish for me between the storm drain woman and the iguana. The iguana is just so Florida that it's hard for me to resist. All right. Thank you, Albert. A fine collection. And I appreciate that. And thank you, John Daly, for joining us for it. I mean, that was a really great surprise to have you join us. And
well, it's nice to be back.
Yeah.
And, you know, this segment was my favorite part about working at KGO towards the end. It was like the last thing. The last thing that I was holding on to, right?
Yeah, there was less and less to hold on to.
Yeah.
But, John, you have a Mark Thompson Show mug, right?
I do.
Okay, good. I want to make sure that you have that. And that you drink from it proudly. Well, come visit us again. We love having you. And maybe you. This is really, really. John Daly, everybody, come on. Yeah, he's come back home where he's loved. Big hour ahead. We'll talk politics with Michael Shure and Jim Avila. The week in politics, the debt. I also want to touch on Ukraine. It's not getting lost necessarily, but it is. I feel as though it should get more of the headlines than it is getting. And so at least we'll touch on that. Also, the document mess with Biden. We get to all of that in the next hour. Michael Snyder will be here, the Culture Blaster. So all of that is still to come. Please smash the like button. It helps us, cost you nothing. And please support
with your iron rod.
Support the show with a super sticker, super chat. I will review. Some people have already supported the show today with super sticker, super chat. You can also go to our Patreon page or to our PayPal page. Contribute that way. Both of them can be reached through the Mark Thompson Show themarkthompsonshow.com. themarkthompsonshow.com. We're crowdfunded. You're the crowd, and sadly, we need to ask you for your support and funding. So thank you for that. As I say, Kim's news, and then we'll get into looking back at.
We do have our pal Steve Moskowitz here. Before
Oh, we do. I don't see him.
Yeah.
You know why I don't see him?
Here. Hello, Steve.
Good, Steve. I had. All right, let me do some Steve then, and then we'll figure life out.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How about it for Steve Moskowitz, everybody? He is. He's someone I was talking about yesterday. I was thinking, I have this anxiety, I'll tell you, because we tell everybody how stuff works. So I send Steve a link so he can join us, and I send the link often the night before so I make sure it gets done, And then the problem is I have two concerns. A, the next day I go, did I send the link? Or did I remember to send Steve the link? And then the second anxiety I have is, did it get lost in last night? Because I sent it the night before, did Steve maybe not see it? Because he's looking at morning emails. So I want you to know that I live with that anxiety every day, Steve.
Well, I'm sure we can take that away. And, I love appearing on your show. It's great fun doing this with you and Kim.
Well, I mean, in addition to it being fun, I've gotten so many emails, so many communications from people who say that just even in our back and forths, even in our talks, they've learned so much, and they realize all of the different ways that there are to be helped in small business, as a sole proprietor, just in filing taxes, prepping taxes, and in getting a business launched. I think one of the things we've realized in the last month or so in various conversations is that when it comes to planning a strategy for business, you can help with that as well.
Absolutely. The thing, it's not just tax. Yes, we do tax. Everybody knows me for tax, but there's so much more. This is running a business. It's kind of like if I were a medical doctor and you came in because you had a broken arm, I wouldn't ignore the fact that you had an arrow in your head.
Right.
And that's what we try to do. Like a good doctor, look at the entire organism, not just the one bleeding problem. And there's just so much that we can do. Some people have problems like they can't pay their taxes and they haven't filed their returns, and we can fix that. Other people have done what they're supposed to, but they're just paying too much in taxes. They're not taking advantage of all types of things. We talk about pensions and how that helps people. And there's just so many things. So basically what we do is old school. The first thing we do is we talk to you. And you can have, and one of the things I want to stress, if I had twin siblings and they were alike in all respects financially, the plans we came up for the two of them might be very, very different because their life choices, life decisions, what they like, what they don't like, can be very different. We say, well, okay, it's not just dealing with the taxes, it's dealing with how can we help you achieve the maximum of what you want to do? And that just so varies for people, whether it's, people want to take care of their kids and set them up in business, or people that say, look, they don't believe in that and the kids have to earn their own. Or somebody says, they're looking for an early retirement, or somebody else says, no, they want to be able to work until they're 100. There's just so much individual difference. So we find out, what do you like? What's important to you? And that's what we work on. And that's really individualized. One size does not fit all. One size fits no one.
Yeah, that's a terrific point you make. And I think one of the things you lose is what you're talking about, the things that you offer. You lose that when you just plug and play with some Google search or internet service. I think these, do-it-yourself ways that we've kind of come to see and shimmy our way through taxes and through planning a business, it can really be it can be to our own detriment in a big, big way. So I love the personal touch that Moskowitz offers, and I also think that when we speak about all the nooks and crannies, knowing where the bodies are buried when it comes to tax law and business law, that is Steve Moskowitz. So reach him at 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. Again, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, Steve Moskowitz can help you. 888-TAX-DEAL. It's also MoskowitzLLP.com. You can reach him online, Moskowitz, Moskowitz, MoskowitzLLP.com. Love that you're a part of our show and part of our family. Steve Moskowitz, thank you.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.
Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Right on, right on, right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, this is, again, one of these decisions, Kim, we must know.
I know, but there's such big star power sitting in the green room. So
I know, that's what I'm saying.
How do you not just go there,
All right, well, I'm glad you're okay with it because
we'll do a little bigger news at the bottom, do our shout outs, get to Michael Snyder, but then let's get to our guests now. I think.
Okay, very, very good.
Albert, thank you.
Oh my God, that was loud.
Thank you, Mr. Ashley.
Let's do it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I love it. How about it for our Friday political analysts? They look at the world, they look at politics, they look at the world of politics. The former senior correspondent for ABC, longtime White House correspondent, joins us every Friday. He's Jim Avila. And this man, who has been providing political analysis on one show or another, both on network television and on various podcasts and other offerings I have I think we've almost spent a decade together. He has forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. He's the great Michael Shure, everyone. Yeah. Michael, welcome. And welcome, Jim. I am excited to have you both as... it's almost difficult to keep up with all that's going... I see. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I see that. All that's going on. I mean, I know Joe Biden was in transit in this week. He came out to California, surveyed damage. Federal funds are going to be applied here in California, so much of the damage from the storm. At the same time, he's got his own storm going. I'm talking about the dock thing. We spoke a bit about this in prior conversations, but it does seem as though these dock scandals, these classified documents, et cetera, they keep cropping up. Again, I ask you to assess that situation legally, from a practical standpoint, and also politically. Jim, we'll start with you, Jim Avila.
Well, what I would recommend that anyone who's really interested in this take a deep dive and read the opinion piece today in the New York Times from a journalist who wrote about Watergate, and then writes today about the difference between what Trump did and what Biden did. And the fact that he believes that, which is contrary to what I've heard a lot of, is that Biden's troubles actually will help prosecutors prosecute Donald Trump, because Biden's actions actually showed exactly what you should do if you inadvertently bring home some documents that you shouldn't have done. Look, is it sloppy? Have they handled it in a sloppy way? Yes, but there is such a dramatic difference. He compares it. It's an interesting analogy. He compares it to someone who mistakenly goes through the shopping line at your grocery store and forgot to pay for a particular item, and you go out the door and that alarm rings. Well, Joe Biden went back to the counter, put out the material, and paid for it. Donald Trump heard the alarm and ran through it and tried to elude the authorities. And then when they caught him, said, wait a minute, that's mine anyway. So there is a huge difference between what is happening here, and that prosecutors, in fact, do look at what has happened before and what is happening with others. They're looking at, and I'll finish up here, Michael, I'm sure, has lots to say about this, is that they look at what happened with Petraeus. Petraeus took the documents, gave them to his girlfriend to write a memoir, that he was prosecuted. Hillary Clinton had some documents. She didn't do anything with them and was not prosecuted because they compared what she did to what Petraeus did. And they found that there wasn't criminal intent. So it was a very interesting perspective, if you have a chance to read this New York Times article, about, because I had kind of thought, as I think conventional wisdom was, this muddies up the waters and is going to let Trump go. He contends that prosecutors will actually be able to use the difference here to decide to prosecute Trump and not Biden.
Such a great
Michael?
analogy, though.
Yeah, really a great parallel. Go ahead, Michael.
I mean, one of the things, just going off what Jim said, that's important too, is that these are two different sets. These are two different cases, and while neither will be presumably decided before the other, they'll probably run contemporary to one another, and I don't see how this really, hurts the case against Donald Trump in support of what Jim just said, because it is happening separately. One of the intangibles is, and has nothing to do with the legal side, is that one is a sitting president, and Joe Biden is the sitting president, is facing fire that Donald Trump wouldn't have to face because he's not facing the press every day. He doesn't have spokespeople facing the press every day, and he can sort of control his narrative in his own way, as picked up by the people that he speaks to. So it puts the president, as it should be, the president of the United States, whether it's Joe Biden or anybody else, at the disadvantage of having to face the press or having his people face the press on it every day. The other thing is that what Republicans are saying, and the narrative that Trump is trying to spin through his surrogates, is why are we to trust the Biden lawyers, right? Why are we to say that just because Joe Biden's lawyers turned it over and he was angelic with a halo over his head about it, why are we supposed to believe them? It's this whole era of mistrust that he has sown for quite a while that's continuing into this case. But by and large, what Jim just talked about, what the Times op-ed said, very, very important. Those distinctions are very important, because these are two different cases, and the Biden, if we are to believe, and it is proven that Biden was forthright with all of this and his people were, then it makes it much more difficult on Donald Trump, who actually did the wrong thing.
I mean, they could have tried to cover it up, right? Biden's attorneys, they didn't have to come forward.
Well, Kim, part of the cover up, as it were, is that they didn't come forward in time. So a lot of the people on the other side are saying, well, we knew about this in November. There was a midterm election in November. Right. Why didn't we come forward with this stuff then? So whether or not it was a cover up or a delay, when it was actually brought forward, the presumption is that there was transparency about it. But there are a lot of people on the other side who said, well, you could have done it beforehand. But I don't know what the obligation is legally, and I don't know if there's any penalty in that.
The other thing that is being talked about is...
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's no evidence that the White House actually knew before the midterm elections that I know.
100%. Yeah, that's true. That's very true, and that's important. Yeah.
And what we do know is that the Justice Department did, but we see how slowly the Justice Department works on almost anything. So a delay of a few days, which is what it was, isn't really that damning. It's fodder, and certainly the Republicans are going crazy with it. I mean, Jim Jordan, where's the raid? Well, there was no need for a raid. They turned it over. Yeah, that's why there was no raid.
And in essence, Jim, what you're saying means that the Justice Department learned a little bit about the timing of these things from James Comey, who came out and did what he did before the presidential election in 2016, that many think decided that election. So it may have been in the best interest of the public to lay low until such a thing, had to be divulged by the lawyers in the Justice Department, because it didn't have, particular impact in their judgment.
I know he's always kind of running because he's an influence, but technically he wasn't even on the ballot for the midterm elections, right? He wasn't even a candidate. So how applicable is the midterm elections to this whole thing?
Well, it's not, Biden wasn't, nor was Trump, but it is political, right? It could sway, these things do sway in one direction or another. If an independent voter, of a Democrat who's disillusioned with the presidency for the president for one reason or another, who may vote against the White House, these are the kind of things that tip the scales in little ways and sometimes big ways. So that's probably why.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I think it was true that it hurt Trump and it hurt the Republicans that they found these documents way before the midterms. And they suffered from that, and they suffered from the abortion issue. Those were things that really piled up on Trump. So if the Republicans could have said, wait a minute, and thrown out their whataboutism about Biden before the elections, it's possible that it could have swayed some of those voters. So, there is an argument about that, but my go-to is on this. It was only a few days. And things don't work that quickly at the Justice Department. And there's no evidence yet that it went to the White House and the White House somehow squashed it. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe we'll find that out. But right now, there's not been any evidence of that.
The point's being made that Biden's lawyers called archives immediately. Archives took possession the next day. This is from Carol. Thank you for that. I also think that one of the questions that's being asked, and this is sort of the way that there is an equivalency attempted, okay, to try to make the two the same, is, well, let's it's all about what the documents were. I mean, let's take a good look at what the documents were, knowing that there's no way we're really going to know what the documents were. So you can sort of have to me, it's laughable. One guy took 11,000 documents and, as you suggest, defeated or evaded a subpoena, has them being moved all over. There's like whack-a-mole trying to get these documents out of the Trump organization, and that's the reason for the FBI showing up. And they still didn't get all of them. As it turns out, they're more. The other is, I get it, and I've said it before, this is crazy with these guys taking these documents home and that they're showing up in Biden's garage, but the notion that he was trying to hide something that doesn't appear to be played out in any kind of substantive way. So what they try to do is they say, well, but what about those? What are the documents exactly that are in the? So is there traction in that questioning?
Yeah, I mean, if they're super sensitive and they're being used to nefarious end, I mean, that was the problem with the Trump documents, is that they were left out, they were shown, they were shared. There was a carelessness alleged, which there certainly wasn't with Joe Biden. His seemed to have been locked away in closets and being moved and were discovered while being moved. So I know boxes that were being moved. So again, I think we need to know more about it, but it certainly seems like the sensitivity of it, when you look at what Trump did versus what Biden did, or what their people did, or they did themselves, but it doesn't seem that the president certainly did this himself. There is a difference in that, and the sensitivity and the people that they have access to in terms of sharing them in a classified way is very. That's the disturbing part.
What I think Biden needs to do, and I agree with everything Michael said about the document. It's important we find out what they are, or at least we have them characterized to us by the Justice Department or by a committee in Congress. We need to know that. We won't know the details because they're secret. We're not supposed to know the details. But what the Biden administration needs to do, if I was advising them, if they asked me, which they certainly do not, is find out who moved them. Why was there a problem? Why did this happen? And then fire somebody, because it's clear that the president did not know about this. I mean, it's pretty clear that Joe Biden wasn't moving boxes around and it doesn't appear as though he was hiding anything. They turned it over, so they weren't hiding anything. So then they have to find out how this happened, because it is stupid that this happens, and recommend how this not happen anymore, and then find somebody who they did, not a scapegoat, but it's somebody who was responsible. Whether it was at the archives or at the, I don't know where it would have been, GSA or whatever, but that they need to be disciplined.
But I would argue also, now with both of these incidents, however different they are, we now have seen there's a hole in the system, right? So there needs to be a new way of managing government documents. What that might be digitally, it might be different controls, something. So maybe if the Biden administration can set up a new system and say, look, we have a problem here, here's how we're going to fix it, at least that might do something.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against that. I mean, this system as it is clearly is not working, right?
Unfortunately, that's not the sexy part of the story, and
sorry,
something.
No, that's the archives, right. Michael's right.
I mean, I couldn't agree more, and I'm sure the archives is on it more than the administration, because it really comes under their purview. But truthfully, that's not going to get the attention just yet.
I have to ding purview before we go. All right, now I want to quickly move on to something that I don't think is getting quite the play. Maybe it's obscured by some of these other things we're talking about, just for sexiness, as you say, kind of just for clicks, But what's going on in Ukraine is interesting to me, and the way that we are both stepping up our support on one level. I mean, we're actually literally having Ukrainian military people come here for training, coming to this country for training. But also, we're sending in, and NATO is sending in these military vehicles, these tanks that are, heavily fortified to help Ukrainians while also not providing air power, of course, as you're aware. So you see the balancing act that the NATO countries and that the U.S., which is sort of leading this parade, is trying to strike. And they're also, it would seem, they're wanting to work towards some kind of agreement, some kind of end, some kind of finish to this. All of this is going on at the same time. I'm wondering if you can just give me your take on Ukraine through the winter and how you see this all playing, if not playing out, playing through the spring season. Jim Avila?
Well, Michael, why don't you go first, because I've got like a 10-car accident out behind.
That's Jim reporting live from Kyiv. I spoke to a Democratic Party person, I guess it was late last week, who was talking. We were talking about Ukraine a little bit and how that's going to play. So you look at. He said to me something, and this isn't verbatim, but basically that it's rare that something that is politically expedient at the moment and is also right happen. It's like the perfect storm. And what the Democrats see in supporting, and what this administration sees in supporting, with a full-throated support of Ukraine right now, is putting a Republican House of Representatives, a Republican leader, and Republicans nationally on the defense of Russia, putting them in a position to defend Russia and defend Putin. They know that this is going to be protracted until there's some kind of peace that doesn't seem within a whiff of happening. But by pushing forward with initiatives to continue to help Ukraine, they see that there's political value to that as well as the general good. But you're also, in doing that, putting countries like Germany on their heels, because Germany doesn't want to send tanks, and Germany has an interesting history with militarily supporting Russia that we can look back at over the past 80, 90 years. But at the same time, what is happening in Ukraine is I think a surprise to a lot of people, because Ukraine is still in this, and actually to a great extent winning this battle with Russia. So also getting behind a winner is an important part of the calculus here.
Jim?
Yeah, it's almost like, I'm sorry, Kim, you want to go ahead?
I just wanted to break a little bit of news since we're talking about Ukraine. There's a story from Time Magazine they just put out that a Navy SEAL was killed fighting in Ukraine. This person was apparently on active deserter status, but was in Ukraine fighting alongside Ukrainian forces. His name is Daniel Swift, and he suffered injuries with a unit under attack by Russia. So I don't know if that's the first report. I think it may be the second or third of an American fighting in Ukraine that has died in this war.
Yeah, he's a vigilante, right? I mean, it's not any part of any organized.
Not official.
Right.
Are you trying to swift vote him?
Yeah. I would not want to be in charge right now, to tell you the truth, because what you do about Ukraine is, besides the political ramifications, which Michael has spoken to, the ramifications for us as a society and as a world is just, it's off the charts. I mean, it's the Cold War all over again. It is the Cuba Missile Crisis all over again. One mistake by either side means that it could be nuclear war, and you're dealing with somebody who is, with Putin, who is not stable and not dependable. Crazily, we used to think of Khrushchev as this crazy guy who was banging the shoe against on the table at the UN, but in the end, Khrushchev was pretty reasonable, and he decided, I'm not going to continue with the missiles in Cuba. I'm going to pull them back, and we all survived. And there was an off-the-book sort of resolution of that. We, decided to we promised to take our missiles out of Turkey, and they took their missiles out of Cuba. there was some kind of resolution with a reasonable side. We don't have that now. We have a guy you can't trust. He's unpredictable. If we send in, look, I'd love, for the Ukrainians to win this war, but do I want to send American tanks in, and American war airplanes in? No, I don't want World War III. And it is a very, very scary situation that I do not have a good resolution for. And I don't think
it's already clearly a proxy war. I mean, we've got, and now there's pressure on Germany to supply these Leopard tanks that they're talking about, and Germany's sort of slow walking it. I mean, you see how everybody is sort of where Jim is, which is like, I got to do something. I don't want to do, there's a reluctance to become involved, and yet there's also a feeling that there's an imperative to become involved. So these have to be balanced. So
I think what you have to do, Mark, is look at this as Afghanistan, if you can. The Russians went into Afghanistan. The Americans supplied all these weapons, including the Stingers, which were shooting down helicopters and made it incredibly uncomfortable for the Russians to stay. And eventually the Soviets then did pull out. And I think we have to be ready for this to be a long war and not try to end it quickly by continuing to escalate with these weapons, which will cause a retaliation either in NATO or in the United States by the Russians. My recommendation is to slow walk it, to continue to give them weapons that make it very uncomfortable for the Russians, and that they have to explain why their people are coming home in body bags, but not over the line to where we are antagonizing Putin to do something really stupid.
I wanted to get to the debt. I wonder if you can just give me 30 seconds on it. This is the Highwire Act that is also being played out by the GOP on the debt and the debt limit and the debt ceiling. Michael Shure, give me a quick, if you could, just a quick sense of how that's playing out.
Well, I mean, Janet Yellen told us this week, the head of the Fed, that we've reached our debt limit, and the Congress is up against the wall. I imagine they're going to find a way to extend it, but they are also going to have to find some compromise in order to do that. And that usually means spending cuts, and Democrats are loath to do that. And already you see Democrats talking about entitlements, and you see Donald Trump talking about entitlements too, in framing his soon-to-be presidential candidacy. He said he's going to go to CPAC and talk about entitlements when he goes to the Conservative Political Action Committee and speaks once again. So that's what people are going to be looking at. I don't think there's a fear. I mean, there probably is among some that we're not going to be able to raise the ceiling, but how we get there is what is frightening to both moderates on both sides as well as the extremes on both sides of the aisle.
Jim, a quick second from you.
This happens every time. The Republicans claim they don't want to raise the debt ceiling, although they did it 4 times under Donald Trump, and have repeatedly done it under Bush to pay for his wars. So, should we live within our means? Yes, we should. Are we? No, we never have, and we continue to raise the debt ceiling. There'll be when I was covering the White House, this happened every year, and it was painful. And park rangers got laid off, and they closed national parks, and those type of things will start happening. And Social Security payments may be late. When that starts happening, even the GOP is going to have to come around, and there'll be some kind of negotiation. I don't think people outside the Beltway who live where we live are that upset about it, and I don't think we ought to be that upset about it yet.
Jim Avila, Michael Shure, thank you. Appreciate you being here every Friday, and the audience so appreciates your takes. Always clear, always terrific, and we appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Go, Michael, Niners. Yeah, it could be a tougher game, but
it will be a tougher game. But the Niners are good. They have a good defense. As long as a rookie quarterback can keep motoring, that's the question: is when is that that bubble going to pop?
He's got a lot of help, McCaffrey, and
he has a lot of help. That's true.
I think is a great one too, who sort of lives in the shadow of Deebo Samuels. But anyway, it's going to be a great game, and looking forward to talking about it next week and the Niners' victory. Michael and Jim, thank you, boys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And now
I think that's my favorite Mark Thompson Show segment. Those guys are awesome.
They are great. I love it. I would do.
I could talk to them all day and just listen to them.
Yes, I completely agree. They speak with
And
utter
look
clarity.
at them. They're cute. They're knowledgeable. More of that.
Wow. How about that?
Girl, you just woo.
Yeah, you got it all going, don't you, Kim? All right. So, Albert, what are we doing? We're going to do quick news, and then we've got Michael Snyder.
Quick news, and we're going to culture blast.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
We bring it at you fast, don't we? Kim's fabulous over-the-top news theme, and then we'll culture blast. Hit the like button. Smash it like a boss.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz at 888 Tax Deal. And we're just talking about Ukraine. Well, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says a $2.5 billion aid package for Ukraine will help meet that country's needs on the battlefield against Russian forces. The security package includes air defense systems, artillery, and combat vehicles to boost Ukraine's ability to liberate Russian-occupied territory. The family of a teacher who died during a struggle with LAPD officers is now expected to announce a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles today. Attorneys for the family of Keenan Anderson are expected to seek $50 million in damages. Anderson was tased several times during a struggle with police officers in Venice earlier this month. Earlier this week, his family gathered at the steps of City Hall to call for police reforms and for the resignation of Police Chief Michael Moore. Speaking of police chiefs, not going well in Oakland, where Oakland Police Chief LeRon Armstrong is on paid administrative leave. The move made yesterday after city officials reviewed reports on an alleged misconduct case by department personnel. They say Chief Armstrong violated department rules for allowing officers to escape serious misconduct by failing to review an inadequate internal affairs investigation. It's alleged he prematurely closed down this investigation of an officer who was involved in a car accident, and didn't report it right away. So the investigation recommending the Oakland Police Department sustain rules violations against Chief Armstrong for failing to hold his subordinate officers to account, for failing to engage effectively in the review of the incident, and for allowing the subject officer to escape responsibility for serious misconduct. We'll see how this all plays out. It is an 11th day of searching for this sweet little boy swept away by the floodwaters in California. Crews in San Luis Obispo County have been combing the longest river on the Central Coast for Kyle Doan. The 5-year-old pulled from his mother's arms when her truck got stuck on the way to school. Drones are now being used to monitor changing water levels and uncover spots that can be tough to reach on foot. 11 days, and he is still missing. Cincinnati Bengals player T. Higgins hopes to see Damar Hamlin back on the big game this weekend. The Bengals visit the Bills on Sunday in the divisional round, their first meeting since their game was canceled after Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest after tackling Higgins. Hamlin's still recovering. It's unclear if he'll be able to make an appearance, not play in the game, but make an appearance at that game. So we'll be watching for that. Former President Donald Trump is dropping his lawsuit against New York's Attorney General. The move coming after he was ordered to pay close to $1 million fine for his 2020 lawsuit against Hillary Clinton because the judge ruled it was filed only to seek revenge. No reason was given for the withdrawal. A federal judge overseeing the case warned Trump's legal team they could face a similar result.
Yeah, they said the judge actually said this borders on frivolous, right?
Yeah.
And kind of threw a brushback pitch to them, right? So,
yeah.
There's never been anything like this.
Okay.
That's when you get your hand slapped by the court.
Yeah.
Get out. A new lawsuit claims Disneyland employees laughed at a 66-year-old disabled woman before she fell down and then eventually died months later. The woman fell while getting off the Jungle Cruise ride in August of 2021. Now, admittedly, she was told that the boat for handicapped, where you could roll your wheelchair right on, was out of service. So she makes the decision on her own to ditch the wheelchair, climb aboard a regular boat. The lawsuit claims the woman's daughters helped her off of a boat when the ride ended, and instead of offering assistance, park employees laughed at her for struggling to get off the boat. The woman lost her balance, fell backwards, broke her right leg, had to go to a rehabilitation center for 5 months, which is where she got an infection, went into septic shock, and died last January. Her daughters say if she had never fallen, if they hadn't been laughing at us and were helping us, then she would never have broken her leg, would never have been in that rehab center. Anyway, the family.
Oh my God, that is an incredible course of events. I mean, it's like a
right.
Rube Goldberg was the old person who had one thing serious chain of events ends up with the woman dying. Just as a practical matter, I mean, it sounds awful, and maybe it really happened the way they suggest, but I don't think they're going to be able to make a legal case. I don't.
They are suing for big money from Disneyland.
Yeah. I mean, Disney just may want to make it go away, so they may, that might.
Well, it's not a good look that their employees were laughing instead of helping.
Yeah,
but,
if that's what happened, I don't know that that's actually what happened, right? I mean. I'm just saying that you're here. There's an account of something happening, and we don't know that that's what happened. So,
well, and how do you blame then Disneyland for what happened at a care facility?
Right, you blame them for the the origin, the genesis event. You know what I mean? But which is what they're doing. So anyway.
Residents in Tulsa, Oklahoma reported seeing a bright flash of light early this morning in the sky. Experts say most likely a meteor just burning up in the atmosphere. Nothing to see here. Move along. But officials have yet to declare that as the object people saw. So right now in Oklahoma, everybody talking about what was that?
Yeah, it might be something. Yes,
you just don't get it.
Yeah, I do.
You don't.
I do get it. It's people visiting. I know they're alien creatures among us. They walk among us.
That's not fake. That's real.
That's right.
Here come the lizard people. This report sponsored by tax attorney Steve Moskowitz. For more than 30 years, Steve has put his tax knowledge to work for individuals and for businesses. If you need help with your taxes, give Steve Moskowitz a call. He's at 888-TAX-DEAL and at MoskowitzLLP.com right there. I'm Kim McAllister on The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show. The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, I want to get right to it. So excited to be part of it on this Friday. Thank you for joining us in all the ways you do. Thank you for supporting us in all the ways you do. It's one of the most awkward things that I have to do, ask for support from the audience. But we appreciate this community that's formed, and we appreciate that it's expanding, and we appreciate you. And most of all, the ways that you've actually come forward and contributed to help keep us going. So I want to acknowledge some of those contributions now. And Spencer Jeffy again with $20. I think he was in yesterday for $20. Big shout out. I love that. Spencer, thank you so much. And speaking of thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Walter, $9.99. Aloha, Walter. What up, Walter?
Aloha Friday, Walter.
Thank you. Aloha Friday, kid. Love it, Walter. Thank you for $9.99. Radcliffe with a $5 super sticker. What up, Radcliffe? Big Dan Ashley shout out.
Big shout
Cute
out.
doggy picture there, too. That's adorable.
Cute dog, yeah. Cute little doggy. Jim Slayton for $4.99. Wooden ships for Crosby. I got it. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
I will again remind you that we're talking to Carl Gottlieb, who wrote the David Crosby book, the autobiography, that one, Long Time Gone. He'll be talking to us, and you'll hear that interview on Monday. We'll speak with him today, and we're going to record it and turn it around for Monday. $9.99 from Elwin, still the coolest name. What up, Elwin?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elwin, and I love your name. I love your support, your ongoing support of this program. CR, what was that? Oh, sorry, did I do that? CR, can we please stop calling Social Security an entitlement? Most of us have paid into it our entire working lives. It's our money, says CR. That's a super chat. Whenever there's a super chat, we will read it. It's $20. CR, I happen to agree with you.
Thank you so much.
And I give you a thank you so much. And
big shout out.
A big shout out for that. I think that's absolutely right. These are entitlement programs. They're listed as such, but we do clearly pay into them. So we should receive them. And this is when you talk about government and government not working. Tell that to people who live on Social Security. Social Security is a brilliant government program that has worked quite well. And that's if you want to call it a socialist program, call it that. People find that the Social Security system works for them, and they have paid into it. So that's a bit of socialism, the same way corporate welfare is a bit of socialism the other way. We bail out these corporations. So anyway, Janet Art, $50. Wow,
Yay!
Janet.
Big shout out.
I'm not going to cry.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
But it's close. So happy to hear JD again. Yeah, how about that, John Daly?
Yeah.
I love Kim's music. It's big and bold, just like Kim. Yeah, right on.
That's right.
Janet R., thank you for $50.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
That is clearly cry territory, if I can just be honest.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Bill Marshall for $10. Fabulous Friday funding. Thank you, Bill.
Big shout out.
Yeah,
Thank
right
you,
on.
Bill.
Go Niners. Right on, Bill. Thank you for that. And
Thank you so much.
thank you so much, all of you. I appreciate it so very much.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. And I just want to, again, remind you that you can go to Patreon, go to PayPal, and contribute that way as well. Both those sites, both those contribution portals are at themarkthompsonshow.com. Just click contribute. And now, he's waited patiently. He comes in diligently. You've read his stuff in the Marina Times. He writes about all things, but he is the culture blaster. When you talk about movies with superheroes, you talk about comic book characters that they've built franchises around, the Marvel universe, the DC universe. Then you talk about some Korean subtitle film, some French film. This guy,
He knows it all.
he is amazing. I mean, I'm not just saying that. I'm astounded by Michael Snyder's breadth of knowledge and love. He really does love it. And that's not to mention his love of music. And he comes and goes. What a rainbow! Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Mark. Happy Friday to you, to Kim, to Albert, to our listeners. Love you all. Oh my God, breaking news. I've got breaking news here.
Breaking news. What is it?
George Santos has just been convicted of assault with a growing nose after a congressional speech.
I get what
Morning.
you did that. Yeah, there you
fine.
go, because of the
A
Pinocchio
little
thing.
political bent there. And
Yeah,
actually, it's because I'm still glowing after having seen our pal Greg Proops do a stand-up set at Flappers in Burbank. You know, I live between San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
And I just wanted to give him a quick plug.
Well, Proops is amazing, and I used to never miss his show when he was
He's a brilliant guy,
when
and
he was
actually,
in San Francisco.
you know what he said? He said he'd love to be on the program. And
Seriously?
So,
I'd love
yes.
to have him on. That'd be great. I'll hold him to that.
His latest comedy album, In the City, is now available. It was improvised and recorded live in San Francisco at the venerable Punchline, where Greg was, as usual, as he puts it, spliffed, riffed, super woke, and suited up.
He is so great, man, and I'd love to help him promote the album. He should come on. And I missed, was it Venerable Days? Yeah, Venerable is the ding word. Go ahead.
I also want to point out quickly that he did the Punchline over New Year's, and it was a wonderful, glorious run there. And, he goes by the title The Smartest Man in the World. And if you listen to his hilarious and astute pop culture and news-informed routines, it's like a high wire act. And he has a prodigious, spontaneous Proopcast.
You just woo.
Ding him for prodigious, please.
You can purchase In the City in various formats by going to gregproops.com and clicking on the proper link.
Well, now we don't need to have Greg Proops on to promote the album. Snyder just did it.
No, he's got more stuff coming up. He's doing Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, he's very funny as an improv artist.
Nationwide.
He's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I'm so filled with the glory of Proops having seen him this week.
Well, we will have him on. Absolutely 100% we'll have him on. It's those of you who love Greg Proops, as we do, we will have him on. Thank you, Michael, for kind of being our go-between on that.
I'm happy to do it.
Now, what are you going to be talking about this week?
Well, I do want to
You have
start
about
out.
90 seconds left before we have to
Hey,
wrap you up.
listen, all I can say is
You
I want
decided to. It's not my fault. You want to make your whole segment about Greg Proops.
No, I just had to give him his props. I wanted to tell you that the 20th anniversary of the Noir City Film Noir Festival starts today and runs till the 29th at the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland, and it's fantastic. They dredge up things that people haven't seen in years and years and years, restored prints of stuff. And if you like film noir, and I do, I like it when there's an anti-hero at the heart of it, and he's trying to clear his own name or do some horrible scam. Love that stuff. And this year's poster for Noir City features a longtime Miss Film Noir, Audra Wolfman, who, by the way, is the most fatale of femmes in these things. She's always got a gun or a cig. Anyway, the Film Noir Festival is happening.
It's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
It is.
It really is.
Let's get to some new movies, because that's why we're here, isn't it?
There's Greg Proops. They're showing a picture of Greg Proops now.
Excellent. Okay, so let's kick it off with Missing. Searching, the very clever 2018 John Cho thriller that played out entirely on screens, primarily computer and phone, was clearly the template for Missing, an engaging thriller that, like Searching, tells its story on digital media. Even when it challenges credibility here and there, it has enough twists and turns to deliver an engaging mystery. The protagonist is June, a student played by Storm Reed, who you may recall from the TV series Euphoria. She was in A Wrinkle in Time. June's mother, played by the very familiar Nia Long, has gone on a Colombian vacation with her new boyfriend, who incidentally is played by Ken Leung of TV's addictive puzzle box Lost. You see Ken up there and you think, there's going to be some twists and turns. Anyway, even though June and her mom have had a somewhat stunted relationship, strained and whatever, June seems a bit fixated on her long-departed father, which causes the division between her and her single mom to grow even greater. But June becomes apprehensive when mom and boyfriend never return from Colombia. So, using all the tech at her disposal, June has to somehow find out what happened and convince balky authorities to help her get her mom back if possible. As with Searching, the visual approach is initially kind of wonky, but you quickly adapt to it, and Reed and Long make for a believable mother and daughter that earn your sympathy. This was written and directed by the team of Will Merrick and Nicholas D. Johnson. I enjoyed Missing, especially here in the January doldrums. Wow. It's available in theaters only for now, but I bet you it'll be fun to watch at home.
What is that, Kim, that you're doing right now? Are you?
I was trying to show
Missing.
that's missing. That's
and we need to maybe organize that stuff before the show. Actually,
yeah. I'm missing minutes here,
saying.
Kim. Come on.
Yeah, I'm just
trying
saying.
to add
if we
to
want
the
to do
segment.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
I've got Steve Moskowitz waiting too. Can I just quickly get a word with Steve Moskowitz and then come back to you?
You do you, Mark, but I mean, whatever.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I love my Michael Snyder, but I love my Steve Moskowitz even more. Oh, Steve, welcome.
Hi, Mark.
Look,
Hi, Tim.
Steve, this is the beginning of the year, and we're slowly coming out of the holidays. As I mentioned to you before, people are getting businesses started. I also think that there are tax advantages that you've spoken of. There's money, government money you've spoken of, that's still out there that people can begin this new year by taking advantage of.
Oh, absolutely. ERC is a prime example. ERC is where the federal government is rewarding employers that employed people during the pandemic of 2020 and 2021, where they're giving away, Mark. It's not a loan, it's a grant. They're just giving the money away of up to $26,000 for every employee that you have that qualifies. There's two different ways to qualify. One way is a certain drop in gross revenue. That is so easy. When we do one of those cases, it's so quick to say you qualify and that's it, nothing to talk about. 1 + 1 = 2. But so many firms are mass producing those and stopping there and saying, well, if your gross revenue didn't go down enough, that's it, no ERC for you. Wrong. There's another method, and the law clearly says either or. The other method is a facts and circumstances method. Now, admittedly, it's a lot more difficult. Sometimes we have multiple meetings with clients. Sometimes we give them homework. But if your facts and circumstances are such that you qualify, which is basically having COVID restrictions having an adverse effect on your business in more than a nominal amount, you can still qualify and get just as much money as if you'd qualified on the drop in gross revenue. And we've had so many examples where other firms have turned these people away. We work with, oh my God, you qualify. And these clients have gone from hundreds of thousands to millions that they were leaving on the table. We've talked about, it just boggles me how so many firms are just ignoring these. And I realize everybody's facts and circumstances are different and not everybody qualifies, but a lot of people do that were turned down elsewhere. That's something that somebody should really look at.
And I just think there's chapter and verse on this. People who don't, that's why we talk about it so much, ERC. You think, oh, I don't qualify, or, yeah, I took a little hit from COVID, but let Steve decide whether you qualify. Let Steve actually examine your situation. I'd recommend Steve to not only any small business person out there or medium-sized business person out there, anyone at all who doesn't know about Steve should. MoskowitzLLP.com is the website. You reach Steve easily. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. We love that you're our sponsor, and we love the work you do for Bay Area residents and Americans who are anywhere in the country and need help with their taxes or with setting up a business. And by the way, even if your business is already there might be ways in which you can streamline your business, take advantage of certain strategies when it comes to business. Steve can help with all of that. 888-TAX-DEAL, 888-TAX-DEAL. As I was saying, love that you're part of our family. Thank you, Steve Moskowitz.
Love being part of the family. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Kim. Have a great weekend.
You too. Steve Moskowitz, everybody. Right on.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Michael, I don't want you to worry. Your time will remain. We may have to go a few minutes over. Kim may have to go over to Nikki's show, but I will be here, and your segment will continue seamlessly, sir. So you're not to worry.
Mark, you know the phrase "a nasty piece of work"? that's how I. No, I'm kidding. This is totally the vibe I got from the smart and cynical new movie "When You Finish Saving the World," which is written and directed by actor Jesse Eisenberg.
Wow. Kim, do you have any images from When You Finish Saving the World that you've got going for us?
Wait, don't even. Yeah, wait. You know how the characters Eisenberg plays are often weirdo nerds or simply obnoxious jerks? I mean, think about it for a second. Right. Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network, Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, they come to mind. Well, the main characters Eisenberg has created for When You Finish Saving the World seem to reflect his specialty. They are decidedly off-putting. At the center of the movie are a work-obsessed social worker with an unhealthy fixation on one of her clients, and her son, who is a fledgling singer-songwriter trying to attain followers and stardom on social media via regular online performances from his bedroom. These two are so selfishly wrapped up in their respective worlds that the mother-son relationship has withered. You throw in the diffident dad, and this is a family you would rather not join for dinner. I'm not coming over to have a bite to eat with these people.
Wow, diffident, Alding. Go ahead, yes.
But there's a fascination to watching them at odds with one another as they fitfully interact with and alienate their respective peers with such unlikable people. When You Finish Saving the World is made palatable by the casting of the award-laden leading lady, Julianne Moore, as the mother, and Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things as the son, and even J.O. Sanders in the more peripheral role as the father. The real surprise here is how the family's foibles can evoke pity and even empathy when they're so cringe-inducing. Through it all, Eisenberg impressively manages to actually weigh in on some big-picture stuff like the gray area between social justice warriors and virtue signalers. Virtue signalers are social justice warriors that are just out to, bring glory upon themselves.
Sure.
Ultimately, I was impressed by When You Finish Saving the World, which is in theaters.
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot going on there, it sounds like, but in the end, you like it.
Yeah, I just thought it was compelling to watch these people, even if you're going geez, cut me a break.
Okay.
Okay, Alice Darling is an intimate look at Alex, Alice, a woman who is being psychologically beaten down by an abusive relationship with a handsome, self-centered artist. So she decides to get out of town and go on an all-girl trip with 2 lifelong friends, but even miles from her everyday city life and hanging with her gals at a comfy lakeside vacation home, Alice is still dogged by the specter of her boyfriend and diminished by, it's kind of like remote control he seems to have over her. Wow. This nightmarish codependence has undermined the bond she shares with her girlfriends, and something's got to give. Anna Kendrick, so good as blithe, cheerful, or naive characters in movies like Pitch Perfect and Up in the Air, plays Alice and delivers the dark and damaged goods. And it's great to see Winmu Mosaku, best known as a time variance agent on Marvel's Loki series, flexing her dramatic chops as Alice's loyal pal Sophie. Alice Darling was written by Alana Francis and directed by Mary Nye, and these women seem to know and understand Alice's plight well enough to bring some hard truths to the project. It's not a masterpiece, it's more of a snapshot, but Kendrick brings her A game, and that's enough to recommend it. Alice Darling is in theaters.
Wow. I will ding blithely, by the way, if I have to. Go ahead. Yeah.
Just quickly, There's Something Wrong with the Children is a tight little low-budget horror movie that makes something out of a very simple premise. 2 couples, Margaret and Ben, and Ellie and Thomas, are on a weekend getaway. Ellie and Thomas have brought along their children. The 6 vacationers go for a walk in the nearby woods and come upon an old and elaborate structure with a back chamber that leads to a strange deep hole in the ground. The kids seem a little dazed by the experience, and that night they seem a little off. The next morning they start acting palpably weird, or at least Ben thinks that they're a little messed up, even as Margaret and the kids' parents think he's overreacting. Is he overreacting? To find out, you have to see the movie, which is a decent diversion for horror fans, from director Roxanne Benjamin. Here's a casting note. Amanda Crew from the terrific HBO techie sitcom Silicon Valley plays the kid's mother. This is on demand at the usual places, Amazon Prime, Vudu, etc.
There's Something Wrong with the Children is what that's called.
That sounds really scary.
Yes.
Well, for a mom, it must be doubly scary. Because
Michael likes the scary stuff. Kim.
Have you ever said to yourself, while looking at your kids, Kim, there's something wrong with the children?
More than once, Michael. Indeed.
Oh, my God.
He also liked Alice Darling. And that's in theaters?
It is in theaters.
And When You Finish Saving the World, that's the Jesse Eisenberg thing. He liked that also.
Yeah, that's kind of the best of the 4 movies. I
okay.
think. Although Missing has its...
Missing you also liked.
These are all mezzo, but yeah, not a poke in the eye with a sharp stick in any case.
Is there a thing at the beginning of the year where movies just are mezzo, though? You know, the January films are not the ones that
we've talked about this. It's the dumping ground, generally speaking, and a few of the award contenders finally get wide release. For instance, even though it's not going to win anything, The Son, which features a great performance by Hugh Jackman, opened wide today. It's not as good as The Father, the previous film by Florian Zeller. I think that's the guy's name.
Yeah.
But that's happening.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
you reviewed it here, and you said it's you said exactly what you just said, which is that it's okay.
I'll say quickly, TV has some gems, and I'll just give you bullet points. Your Honor on Showtime and Paramount has its 2nd season with Bryan Cranston as a respected New Orleans judge whose moral fibers tested by family tragedy, local crime bosses, and his own flaws. And man, I got to tell you, I love New Orleans, so being there with Bryan Cranston an hour a week as this thing runs is great. And I don't want to tell you about the show particularly, because if you haven't seen it, you have to start at the beginning, and Series 1 is on Paramount Plus.
It is brilliant. It is brilliant. I just realized I have Paramount Plus because I got another bill for $9.99. I literally didn't even remember. I was like, that's a topic for another time. Are we going to do a separate... Not now, but a separate segment about what we're going to do.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mostly British Film Festival and some TV stuff.
Good. So
if we have the time. Also, quickly, The Last of Us.
That'll be next week.
The dystopian sci-fi thing on HBO started last week. I am thoroughly excited by The Last of Us. Even though it's based on a video game, this looks Fantastic.
I've heard great things about it too.
And one more guilty pleasure, that 90s show dropped on Netflix today. It's a fun, fluffy sitcom sequel to that 70s show, returning to Point Place, Wisconsin, and the home of Red and Kitty Foreman, played as before by the great Kurtwood Smith and Deborah Jo Rupp. And the original stars come back. Their kids are the ones that are focused on, but they include, of course, Topher Grace and your friend Laura Prepon as Eric and Donna, and their daughter is a central figure here. And we also get Ashton Kutcher and his bride, Mila Kunis, as Kelso and Jackie.
That's all the 70s people.
Yeah, so you get them doing cameos, and you feel like it's an extension. I enjoyed it.
That 90s show. Yeah, I used to play cards on the set of that 70s show every week. It was pretty wild. It's a great crew. I love them. And feel bad that I don't see them anymore.
Yeah, Wilmer Valderrama is back. The one who isn't back is Danny Masterson, and we know
he's
why.
He's got his own problems.
We know why.
He comes and goes.
Go Niners!
Go Niners. Read them in the Marina Times. I know. It's been one of those days where we've had a lot of stuff going on. And I can't. Really? When it's time to go, it's time to go. Nikki's back.
Yeah.
Politics, dress code misogyny, Stanford law prof, Richard Thompson, Coach B, from MTV's Teen Mom, movies with Sika, Friday food. Oh my God, she's got a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, she does.
I want to thank Kim. I want to thank Albert for making it back from his golfing to give you
Albert, thank you.
Yeah. And Tony, who stopped in.
Tony.
And John Daly, who came by. That was kind of fun today.
Yeah.
All of you more than anything. Really appreciate your support of this show. The hoodie comes on Monday. The t-shirt goes away at the end of the month. Have a great weekend, everybody. Niners, please beat the Cowboys.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
I really do appreciate all the ways you support us.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. Until Monday. Bye-bye.